Hey guys. All right. So today's making meaning is going to be recorded, and Miss Larry and Miss Diaz are going to be going through and pausing the lesson for you. So I'll be here, but not here. All right. So the story we're going to be reading today is called Charlie Needs a New Cloak. And in this story, we are learning how to retell a story, right? And your success criteria, what you're going to be able to do by the end of the story is you're going to be using the illustrations to tell about what's going on in the story and our words. So make sure you're really looking closely at the pictures as I'm reading. Charlie Needs a New Cloak by Tommy DePaulo. So Tommy DePaulo is our author. He wrote the words in the story, and he's also the illustrator. So he did two things, right? He wrote the story, and he also illustrated and drew or colored the pictures and made the pictures. Charlie Needs a Cloak. Charlie Needs a Cloak by Tommy DePaulo. And here we have our title page. Okay, we know it's our title page because it has the title and it has the author and the illustrator. It needs to have those things. If it just has the title, not the title page, right? It needs to have the title, author, and the illustrator. Poor Charlie. He really needed a new cloak. Students, a cloak is a loose coat with no sleeves. He really needed a new cloak. Yeah, take a look at it. Looks like it's all ripped up and kind of all raggedy. He would definitely probably need a new one. He really needed a new cloak. So in the spring, Charlie sheared his sheep. Students, sheared means to shave or trim the hair off. So if you look at the pictures here, see how these people have scissors and they're holding down the sheep and they're cutting them off. That's what it means to shear, is to cut, excuse me, to shave or trim hair off. There they are over there. And that's where we get a lot of our clothes from, is sheep's skin or sheep's fur. There they are with the sheep's fur cut off, walking away. So in the spring, Charlie sheared his sheep. He washed the wool. And carded the wool to straighten it out. Students, carded the wool means brush the wool. So there he is, brushing the wool. And just make it straight and soft. And carded the wool to straighten it out. Oh, it's all kind of curled together, so it makes it straight. That's a funny picture. He's like, what did you do to my hair? What did you do? Then Charlie spun the wool into yarn. Students, spun the wool into yarn means twisted the wool to make the yarn. So it was twisted and twisted by this machine, and that's how he made the yarn. Then Charlie spun the wool into the yarn. What has happened so far in this story? Your teacher will now pause the story so you can discuss. Then Charlie spun the wool into yarn. Charlie wanted a red cloak, so he picked some pokeweed berries during the late summer and boiled them over a fire. Students, pokeweed berries are berries that are used to color thread or cloth. It's kind of like a dye. It changes the color of stuff. So these pokeweed berries he went and picked, and they're very red. But if you get them on stuff, they stain, right? They leave a mark. Sometimes, like if we're eating strawberries or blueberries or blackberries or raspberries, if we get them on our clothes, they could stain. So he went to go pick them. He wanted a red cloak. So he picked these berries, right, during the late summer. That's when they grow. And he boiled them over a fire. And usually when you boil berries over a fire with like a little bit of water, it becomes more of like a liquid. And we learned about that, right? With solids, liquids, and gas. When you have a solid and you heat it up, it turns into a liquid. Wow. Cool. Then Charlie dyed the yarn red in the berry juice. And dyed means to change the color. So he dyed the yarn red in the berry juice, and there it is. There it was white. He's like, no, don't do it. My beautiful hair shouldn't be red. And he dyed it. Must have had the berry juice in here. And now it's red. After the yarn was dry, Charlie put the strands on the loom. Students, a loom is a machine that is used for weaving cloth. So after the yarn was dry, it all dried from the juice getting dyed, he put the strands on the loom. It's funny, the sheep's like, don't do it. Still not giving up. And every fall evening, he wove the yarn into cloth. Students, wove means passes string of yarn over and under each other. So he wove. And then that's, okay, like fabric. That's what happens. And every fall evening, he wove the yarn into cloth. Charlie put the cloth on the table and cut it into pieces. He pinned the pieces together. There's all his steps. You did, right? Pinning it, pinning them on the ground, putting all the pieces together that he would need. Silly. Silly little goat or sheep. And sewed them up. What other things does Charlie do to make his cloak? He does quite a few things, right? There's quite a few things it takes to make the cloak. What are the things that he does to make this cloak? Your teacher will now pause the video so you can discuss this. And sewed them. And then when winter came, you know it's winter, there's snow. We have snow too. Charlie had a beautiful new red cloak. Isn't that pretty? What's he doing? He's a silly sheep. The end. Why does Charlie need a cloak? What do you think might have happened to his old cloak? Sorry about that, students. Your teacher will now pause the video so you can discuss this. What do you think will happen to Charlie's new cloak? What do you think is going to happen to his new cloak? Take a look at that last page. What do you think is going to happen? Your teacher will now pause the video so you can discuss. All right, guys. So we're going to read this again in our next lesson. Charlie needs a new cloak, and we'll have some more discussions about the story. Make sure you go to the next video to hear for our shared reading part of the lesson. Bye.